Hey guys, I decided to do this tonight and hopefully, well, it at least started off much smoother than the last stream I tried last time. And I even remember where the pop out button was. Been a very interesting week on here. Quite a few things we can talk about. I'll do my best to be entertaining. I'm actually quite tired, but do what I can. I was nervous to actually do a scheduled live chat again after last time and that kerfuffle, but assuming you hear me okay? And yes, there's a black picture. I think by now people know that, but people always ask. So at the top of the hour, there it is. Uh, because if I had the camera lens open, you would see nothing except a dark room. Yeah, so there's that. Oh, yep. Long enough week. And a cat just jumped on my head. Hi, Hobo. You're so gonna knock that camera off, aren't you? I already feel it. Let me get this mouse unplugged. My wife was using it earlier. Yeah, newsflash, I don't use mice. I think there's a couple of waving hands, and then I see John saying hi. So, hi, John. Iron Horse wants a cookie. Could bake some. The question is, regular cookies or special cookies? Hello, Jillian. Tafala, rip what? Okay, sorry, yeah. You kind of put it on a different line because is it KUSA rip? We'll talk about it. Tartar sauce? Yeah. Kingland of Vinland. Is KUSA dead? KUSA? Are they? Special cookies it is. Now the next question: how special? Is in like you can still go to work in the morning special, or better just go ahead and ride off the whole weekend special. Hey Warsaw. Oh yeah, I think I've got 5 max for my KP9 or KR9 rather. Luckily they've been making it for 5 years, so. Yeah, I've been noticing that the Segas and SGLs are actually a little bit down in 2024. I mean, they're still more expensive than they were when they coming in, but it seems like they hit a high water mark a year or two back as far as prices. Hey, Rational. Hey, Matt. Uh, JTLBZ. Hey, I need to start giving everyone nicknames like President Bush used to do. Hey, Warsaw. I don't know. Warsaw. ATF might be the biggest imbibers. Sometimes I wonder about those guys. After all, they're not the DEA, right? John, what do I think about the European 6920s? Not much. I didn't get one. Probably the coolest Colts I had that back when CDN had some of the Canadian 6520s, I believe they were. I mean, mostly they're just same guns, just some slightly different markings and configurations. That's not to say a bad thing. Tartar sauce, yeah, we'll talk about KUSA in just a minute. I'm just trying to get things ramping up and also kind of get into the zone myself. You know what I mean? Hey, Alec. Yeah. Hey, from Arkansas to hey in Seattle. Actually, we're having very Seattle weather here today. It's been raining all day and just really gray and not exactly cold, but like 60, 65 degrees. Just, yeah. Uh, Vinland, the steel? No, I didn't. I mean, I've been talking with a few people about it for a little while, but I haven't heard about an actual release date. I'm not usually the first to know these things. I don't park myself on the internet very much because guns are my job. When I'm just chilling, I usually actually don't do gun content stuff. Uh, you know, yeah, I mean, the Sega is a solid place to go. It just kind of depends what you want out of it. Converting them can be as straightforward and easy, or as complicated and headbanging on a brick wall as you want it to be. Frankly, as far as the Wasser, I have odd feelings about them in 2024. But they first came out in 2003. I mean, and so for 20 years they reigned supreme, and they're still not bad guns. But a combination of other guns like Zastava, WBP coming onto the market, with the Wasser going up in price, and some odd, although relatively minor, but still odd QC things with Wassers. Also, are they still doing the non-chrome barrel thing? I know for a minute there's some versions at least didn't have chrome line bores, and that's not a absolute deal killer for me. But when WP and Zastava have chrome line bores, and even KUSAs and PSAs have chrome line bores most of the time, it's kind of an odd decision. Hey, Jimbo. I'm gonna be honest, Jimbo. The last several years have been pretty good for collectors, but obviously COVID kind of put up on things. But yeah, even though there's been thunder clouds on the horizon and threats of this and that, and something could change tomorrow, we've avoided things like the whole arm brace thing turned out to be kind of a fart in the wind. Hopefully, it stays that way. Hey, Alec. Yeah, Seattle might actually be better than here. I mean, it's April. It's kind of when we need rain, so take it as you go. But it definitely meant we couldn't do any shooting today, either in the yard, just talking, or out at the range. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Burmese AKs, mostly because my knowledge comes from firsthand, getting hands on. I can read online about the history of a gun, but as far as like details and stuff, without being able to put hands on, text descriptions just can't really do it justice. Like when those quote unquote Asian contract North Korean kits and then guns came in, I learned a lot more about North Korean guns than I knew because I kind of had it in my head that they were, slightly altered Chinese patterns, but turns out no, they're pretty radically different. Okay, Iron, you're in Florida. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Special, like, what, after like February, you're, yeah, hot and humid. Although in the winter it's just cold and humid. So I don't like damp. I would rather be 30 degrees and dry than 50 degrees and damp. Cool on the steel cased ammo. That's obviously something we desperately need. Yeah, we've had kind of rain last couple of days on and off, but today was the big rainy thing. In fact, we had some pretty decent storms in the morning. Yeah, most Westers still have a Kremlin barrel, but some of the newest ones, like the V2s, weren't they saying they didn't? I know some of the what was it, the paratroopers didn't. It got to be where in the past any Romanian gun you got, or AK I should say, was chromed, and now there's a few oddities that maybe don't. I don't know. Well, like look at the Wasser 3 in 223. That was kind of strange there too. There's always trashy furniture on those Sega conversions. I'm wondering if it's one of the Century ones. That's not a negative, but Century did some pretty decent conversions. Does your Sega have the little Velcro patch? What makes a Zastava better than a KUSA? That's a big question. I'm sure we'll get into it, but we're still kind of warming. I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of the current comments so we can start talking. Do I think that KUSA? I never really had shifty quality out of them in the first place. For what it's worth on converting a M70 style gun, an MPAP or an EAA, they never used a wire side folder. The underfolding stocks, the Zastava were always underfolders. That's just kind of their thing. And obviously, until you get to the really, really new guns like the M21, but that's not, I think, what you're doing. Ooh, I'd like to get 545 ammo too, but I'm keeping my hopes realistic for right now. That's always been a niche cartridge in America. As Estava versus the BBP versus Wasser. Yeah, we'll get to it. I actually had the General Tao's chicken a couple of nights ago. Did you know General Tao was actually a real KMT general? On your Sega, what's the first bit of the serial, like H03, H09, or L, whatever? That usually the first is the year. Ooh, a Kyber build would be kind of neat. Yeah, just kind of a hodgy Honestly, at that, maybe a Tobruk, like a Iraqi Tobruk. Those are neat. I'm just trying to read down here to catch up, guys, so we can kind of get on topic. But yeah, the Vepr, there are a few. lemons because manufacturing of anything. But yeah, I would say lowest number. But keep in mind too, Vepper built, well, Molat built far fewer guns than a lot of other factories. So yeah, when you build fewer, you can have a little more time. Okay, I'm still reading down here, but I want to talk about the KUSA situation. Now, I want to be honest. I do not know. The thing is, I have not found anyone who does, for sure. This seemed to have popped up last weekend when I was gone. I came back and it had been happening. There was a little bit on Reddit about it, a little bit on Instagram, and then I just looked before starting this live stream, and it was just a quick, Google search, nothing crazy. But the only video on it, at least in the first full page of results, was that one from the what was it, Christopher Kresh? That one video, which was put out a week ago. That is still the only video. And in that video, he's basing off what he says is a former employee. And he seems sincere, so that's fine. The thing is, if a former employee had a beef, that'd be a really good way to exercise it against the former company. Or this could be a game of telephone where it went from, oh, KUSA is having to do some layoffs, or maybe they're having financial trouble, which I almost can guarantee because almost every gun company has had or is having it right now. In fact, Atlantic told me that the year 2023 was their essentially lowest profit year in quite a long while. But I wonder if it's something that was innocuous like that, or at least, didn't look good and it got conflated to they're out of business. Because it was said that they were going to make an announcement on Monday in that Chris video, and I didn't see anything. Their website is still up. People said you can't order on there. Maybe I didn't try to order, but I did look in the website, not just the homepage, but the actual like links are still working. So I don't know. Does anyone have anything else? Again, I saw a few different pages on Reddit, a couple of things on Insta, but the only video I saw was that one. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Hey, Crypto Monkey, I sincerely appreciate that. I appreciate it so much. I won't even make a shrimp on the Barbie joke. How about that? Let's see. Look, I never delete comments, so you can rest assured that if it goes, it's YouTube. I might argue or dispute a comment sometimes, but you'll know it. The only time I would consider deleting a comment would frankly be stuff I don't think any of you guys would do, like using really racist words, stuff like that. Like really beyond the pale, which I don't think any of you guys would do. So it wasn't me. Okay, it's an IZ 109. Okay, yeah, just same as I go. Hey, Jessica Simp. Haven't seen you comment in a minute. Yeah, on the DML parts kits. Someone. Uh, I found an East German kit in storage. completely by accident. It was one of the nice condition ones, early production. I think it was a 69, 68, memory serves. And pretty much all matching. I think maybe two numbers didn't match, but most numbers did, including the handguard. Anyway, I put it up on Gumburker thinking, well, it's been sitting out here for probably 10 years. I don't need it. I'd probably originally squirreled it away in case a friend wanted it, or, I stripped out a different one that had problems, replacement. I just stuck it up, and that went bananas. So yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, do I have any other cool parts kits? Because I like shipping parts kits. Yeah, it takes a little time to bubble wrap all the pieces, but not having to go through an FFL, it's easier on everyone. Matt, yeah, I don't really know. Look, KUSA put the wrong safety in some guns, mine included. I wrote them. They were really flat about it. They said, "Oh, we screwed up. Guy dove in, grabbed the shotgun safeties. They sent me a replacement, no trouble. They sent me a couple extra mags for my trouble, they said. And the rear sight thing, I don't think it's so much that they used the wrong one. They just didn't make a special 500-meter rear sight for the KP 104. And they were frank about it. They're like, look, we're using the standard 1,000-meter rear sight because it would cost too much to make a whole special run of rear sights. Because it's not just that they're remarked, the teeth and the button are actually reversed on the AK 102, 104, 105 rear sight. So they would have had to have made a pretty special everything for that. And I get it, the guns are expensive enough. The nice thing is, Arsenal had those 500-meter rear sights. I just bought one and put it on my gun. It took me, maybe 10 minutes. So, and that's one of those things that most people wouldn't care about. I just did it for clone correctness. So I don't even care. The safety thing, yeah, that was kind of eh. But again, replacing a safety was pretty easy. Jessica, the one thing about the RPK is it actually has a slightly slower cyclic rate, so you are looking at longer fire too. Plus, I'm going to be honest, 1,400 rounds straight with an AK 103 type, I'm going to need to see some repeat testing on that. I mean, that's extraordinary if you think about it, because most of your guns are in the hundreds, not thousands. The RPK, that kind of tracks, even that seems on the high end just because no quick change barrel, close bolt, that kind of stuff. Oh, Wumbo, that's a good question. Why don't they respond? Of course, you could counter saying, even if they popped up and said, oh, nothing's wrong, people might just say, oh, they're lying. Again, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it seems in the stage of rumor and gossip, not confirmed evidence right now. Before I hopped on here, I did actually look in the Florida like business thing, and it's still a registered corporation, registered business, so it hasn't been shut down or anything like that. Scott, you can't get a hold of anyone anywhere for spare parts. If I'm being honest with you, same goes for Zastava, same goes for Arsenal. What most companies rather do instead of offering spare parts, they'd rather use those spare parts to build guns, especially coming off of COVID and all the shortages we had. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how most of those outfits look at it is why sell spares when we could use those for guns? Uh, Mayo, that I mean, jumping to the conclusion that there's no more support for the KP9, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's kind of jumping a step or two. We don't know what's going on. They have had several shakeups since they got started in 2017. It could be a technical thing. It could be permanent. It could be that they're changing ownership. It could be restructuring. They could be updating their website. I don't know. And I don't like being left in the dark either, but I'm trying to be objective on this. Tartar sauce, could you? I don't mean this in a snarky way, but do you have a citation for them owing over 1 million? Because when I was doing some just googling before this, I didn't see that. But again, I didn't go into it super in depth either. What I can tell you, and I don't know, I'm not going to get too much into details, but someone I know in the gun business was visiting with them just last month and went down there and saw their outfit, and what they presented to him, they were still up and running. Yeah, the Skinwalker, the KUSA TDP claims are quite interesting. It's kind of like they kept saying, no, we don't have them, we don't have them. Everyone kept saying they did. Eventually, I think they just kind of buckled and said, Whatever." Here's the thing. I'm speculating. I don't know anything. What if they had more data for, say, the KR9, Sega 9, KP9, even the KR103, Sega 76239, what have you? What if they didn't have the full data package for the 223 specifically? Keep in mind, the AK-101 was the least successful out of all of them. Quite a few people bought the AK-103 and AK-104. Of course, the AK-105 and the AK-74M are used by the Russian Federation, but the 101, 102s, especially the 101, were pretty much a flop. I'm talking about not KUSA, but like for Izhmash Kalashnikov concern in Russia. Sam, I've had a KR9 since they came out in 2019. No issues. Still have the original top cover on it, and I've had a KR103 since the side folders came out. And I actually would like to shoot it more, but I have put 500 or 600 rounds through it, maybe a little more. It's been out 4 or 5 times, so. But it hasn't given any issues, and it seems a really gentle recoiling gun. The thing is, this is not the first time KUSA's ordering has gone down. In fact, remember about a year ago, they weren't going to do any direct ordering by customers for firearms on their website. I guess they reversed that. But I've seen their ordering process shift around before. And I've disabled ordering on my end too, because if you get behind or you need to do things, it's better to suspend orders and catch up on what you're doing or fix what you're doing than just full steam ahead, taking orders, taking orders, taking orders. Matt, yeah, I really like the 104. I've been super impressed with mine. Again, they sent me the right safety. Boom, put it in. Actually, I think what I ended up doing was I took a safety out of my WBP, put it in temporarily, and it fit well, so I left it. So when I got the replacement safety in from my KUSA, I think I put it in a WBP Fox. But either way, they got me the right part. And personally, I just switched the rear side out, but I didn't have to do that. And it ran fine. I haven't had any weird rust issues or pins walking out. Now I say that it's going to happen tomorrow. I told you it's raining, and I'm going to go out there and it's just going to be rusted out because I'm in life. I'm afraid to say anything's going well. Hey, Mikey. Yeah, Stuttgart. I remember being down there when I was a teenager, I guess in the '90s, and we were I forget why we were even down there. And we went to a Hastings and realized that they were selling censored CDs. That pissed me off. Stuttgart. Oh yeah, I see. I'm scrolling down here, and yeah, if you hear anything direct, like verifiable, feel free to email me too. Ozarkbeararms at Gmail. OZARKBEAR, like the animal. Arms ARMS at gmail.com. So anything you can do if you know anyone, um, you know what I should have. I actually have the phone number for one of the owners, assuming it's still valid as of a few months ago. I just didn't have a chance to reach out this week, and frankly, I kind of feared if shit was really going bad, I wouldn't either get a hold of him or, you know, you, I don't know. Yes, Jessica Simp, I can do math. Yes, that's just what it's going to be. And that's kind of the nature of things. Look how cheap M1 Grands used to be. They're not anymore, but they're still fun to shoot. And I think the AK will slowly but surely enter into that, especially your older ones. Yes, our DVC group is our KUSA. Sorry, I really don't know about their other contracts. I mean, I could see someone buying KUSA or buying stocks and shares and trading out. They've changed ownership and management, what, three times since 2017? I mean, at one time, Mossberg was involved in them quite deeply. I'm sure I'm in the minority on this. I have no interest in the mutant. I'm sure it's a perfectly fine gun. I just, why? I don't. I've got AKs that I paid less for than the mutant. And again, with the ammo situation now, why would I want an AR shooting potentially more expensive and harder to get ammo than a standard AR? Hey, Mayo, I appreciate you stopping in. This was an impromptu thing. I wanted to talk about it. By the way, if anyone wants to pitch in a few bucks, it never hurts. Honestly, I don't know that a milled AK would do a whole lot better or worse. Because the receiver is not the failure point typically. Yeah, a milled AK usually has a heavier barrel, but then again, you've got mill arsenals that have the lighter profile barrel. I'm going to be honest, a lot of the kind of torture test overheat guns, they're not done in a scientific manner. If you're going to do it, you have to take into account multiple variables, and you'll really need to run, say, 10 guns at a time. Because just because one gun fails early or late doesn't tell us anything. We have to, average the results out for a scientific thing. Now, if you're just doing it for funsies, I mean, shit, yeah, why not? Did they declare bankruptcy, or is the internet just saying they did? I haven't found an official notification. Now, it could come Monday morning. I don't know, but I don't see anything official declaring any chapter blah 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 bankruptcy yet. Yeah, Mikey's got it. See, Arkansas people, we got to stick together, right? But I remember going to Prairie Grove for the old Civil War battlefield when I was a relatively young kid, probably 8, 10, something like that. Alphonse, could you share? I mean, if it's private information, I understand, but you say all the rumors are coming from someone who has a vested interest. That's kind of what I said at the top of the show was, how do we know the players in this are being objective and fair? Either way, I don't want to prop them up. I mean, I have no financial interest in KUSA. I own a couple of their guns, but I don't even have any in the store to sell. So I'm trying to be objective as possible. Although I freely admit, I don't want any U.S. company to fail. That's American jobs. And even if you don't want a KUSA or a PSA, a Palmetto State, it's nice to have them on the market because it kind of keeps prices down for like Zastavas or Wassers or what have you. Tartar sauce, that's cool. I mean, records are records. If you could email me, I got my email a minute ago, but if you could email anything, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, Rogue, you have a point there. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. God, I mean, it could be, but why in the world would KUSA have PSL's data package? Ah, I see what you're saying, Rogue. Yeah, SVD. As far as 545 ammo making, maybe one day, but I mean, they're going to start off with 760 by 39 because that is a huge market compared to 545. I mean, huge. Yeah, demanding an SLR 96. Yeah, that would be essentially an SA 93. What happened? The SA 93 was Arsenal Bulgaria's first semi-automatic gun. They kind of went through rebranding and improving their line. The SLR 95 was their more modern style, 90-degree gas block, the thinner barrel. The 96, at least the ones I've seen, were the 45-degree block and whatnot. So essentially doing that is very similar to a 93. There are a couple of technical differences with like with the tangs, but nothing that can easily be overcome. What you need for that 96 and 96 is the Happy Dog pistol grip. If you found a Sega Hunter, honestly, it depends how close of a clone slash copy to an AK-103 you want. If you just want a gun with like a pistol grip that takes standard mags, cool, that's easy to do. If you want an exact 103 clone, especially if you want a folder, whew, that gets into some pretty heavy lifting. Oh yeah, Jessica said the 107, 108. I shot one years ago, back in '04, I think, in Russia. It is a neat design. It's kind of like they looked at the AN-94. I mean, it was a competitor to it, but I mean, it is more complicated than a regular AK-74, AK-101, but not as bad as the AN-94. The AN-94, and luckily over the years, Ian did a video that really illustrates that the AN-94 is just a clockwork nightmare. Yep, and even I didn't have a SGL 2194, which was the side folding 762 by 39. Plenty of SGL 21s and the SGL 3194 and its variants were easy to get, but the 7.62 folders were always relatively hard to get, and they were more expensive. So I just never did get one. So that was what was neat. And what I thought was nice about the KR or KP9, we've never had a Sega 9 in America. Yeah, censored CDs in the 90s, that was the thing. Oh, I made the mistake. Again, before that was kind of really known, I bought Metallica's Garage Incorporated at Walmart. I'll let you figure out how so fucking what ended up sounding. I think the song was literally more bleep than words. All right, Matt. Gustava, PSA, KSA. I mean, I've made my opinions on PSA known. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want a second say on them. Take it or leave it. I think the lines are drawn there. Yeah. Zastava is really good if you want an M70 pattern. Really good. And the price is good too. But if you want an AK-103, if you want a Russian style, and you don't have a Sega, KUSA, so it's more not. It's not really not which one's better. It's just more what you're angling for. I mean, heck, if you want an AKM, WBP is really the way to go. But yeah, if you're just wanting a different thing, so they all have strengths and weaknesses, frankly. Yeah, yeah. Check out the county court filings too, because again, even if something was done a day or two ago, it might not be on the internet yet, or I could just be an idiot and not have seen it. I don't think Century would buy KUSA. I don't know what Century's doing. If you think about it, Century Arms, outside of their surplus guns, they've been very quiet on the AK front. Yeah, they do some Wassers and whatnot, but they've been really quiet. PSA buying, I just gotta wonder how deep are PSA's pockets? They've been buying a lot of stuff and doing a lot of product lines. Are they selling enough guns to do that? I mean, I kind of hope so. I don't want to see them go out of business. The problem with them taking everyone under their umbrella, that's a lot of eggs in one basket if something happens to them. See, Vepers, that's why I keep you around. I'm a fan of the laminate Polish look too, be it a kit build, be it a WBP, whatever. There's just something about a Polish, and yeah, there's something about an AK-74M. I think it does get into kind of the forbidden fruit because for years we could not get those here. So when the SGO 31s came out, that was just it was almost too good to believe. Uh, I think we've all just decided to put the Fag HD18 behind us. That was just such a thing 3 years ago. I don't know. I really kept track. They're out there. Notice the price has not come down. So all those people claiming back in 21 that what was it? Who was the import? Triton. Um, it was jacking the price up. Guess what? When other people import them, same price. I don't know. Shame too, because it was a cool gun for what it was. Yeah, on my I've got a KR9, And I was prepared I might have to send it back with the cover issues. To be fair, though, and you can actually see this in my one of the recent Atlantic videos where I showed the crack on the back of my Polish top cover. Don't worry, I didn't do it. It was there in the parts kit. Just because there's a tiny little crack, it's cosmetically, but it's not unsafe. There's definitely areas where you don't want cracks, but the rear top cover isn't one of them. Jillian, again, you're saying if PSA picks them up. We don't even know if KUSA is gone yet for sure. Even if the current owners or whatever, there's different types of bankruptcy. We just don't know. And I'd like to know, but sometimes with this stuff, you just have to kind of be patient and rat it out and see what happens. I'm gonna just call you Coda, but I sincerely appreciate the well, I was gonna say $20, what 19.9 $20 or 1 cent. I sincerely appreciate that. Yeah, it has been a very long week. Speaking of WBPs too, I just got the new version of the jack in the slick side. It came in a couple of days back, so when it's not crummy weather out, I will grab my previous jack with the side mount, and I've actually got one of the prototype WP Foxes here. I thought I might bring all of them out to see how they do, kind of see the evolution of WBP from what 2016, 2017, and up to today. So I will use your $20 to buy a couple boxes of ammo to run through the WBP in the video. Exactly, Peppers. SVDs, I know people think, oh, it's just an overgrown AK. No, they're Soviet era stuff in the 50s and 60s was meant to be built on pretty primitive tooling and with very, traditional steel and whatnot. But it was relatively labor intensive, and that's what's really hurting AKs in America is there's just a amount of labor and there's a limited amount of CNC equipment that can go into 'em. I mean, these days, the more automation they can go into making a firearm or making anything in America, the better the price will be. Asking about the trunnion rivets on the PSA, honestly, I have no fucking clue. I'm gonna be completely straight with you guys. Never took one apart. I even asked in the video when people were making that claim. Keep in mind, I'm not a real, personally not a big PSA guy, but I want to be fair. Have any, even if they're using the wrong rivets, is it wrong enough to matter? And this is a sincere question. Are rivets failing on people or walking out? Aside, and not just, one or two. I mean, that's a thing. But is this a systemic problem? If so, then, well, it is a problem. If not, even if it's not the spec rivet, if it works, it kind of works. As much as I like having correct stuff. If you want a folding stock on a Sega, personally, I wouldn't. Installing those correctly is kind of a pain in the ass. You've got to recut the rear of the receiver, and I've seen people not do it, and it makes lockup very poor. Um, it just doesn't work right. You need to recut the rear. You need to install the front latch. If you really want to do it right, and this is something that SGLs didn't have, it has the reinforcing plate over the pistol grip, and the KUSAs do have those. If you want a 103 clone, and unless you just get super lucky and find an SGL 2194, yeah, the KR 103 SF is your best bet. And again, I've had mine since they came out. I wasn't going to keep it. I just never got around to selling it, if that makes sense. And went out to the range, and that's the gun that actually kind of turned Fox's opinion of KUSA around. But when we got started back in 21, he did not care for Kalashnikov USA. And shooting the KR 103 a couple of times got him to do almost a complete 180. Cool, Julian. Yeah. Again, I didn't really doubt the claims. That's such a easy claim to disprove. So I'm sure if it was false, but yeah, I'm not. I mean, for one thing, I don't really have many PSAs around here, and I'm not going to tear one apart just to do that because, yeah, money. I A Vepr 308's fine. I think a lot of people. Jay did that. He had a Vepr 308. They're good guns. Yeah, yeah, they're really good. I even like the Sega 308s. They're shockingly gentle recoiling for what they are. However, that's a great reason to enjoy your PSA 105s, and that is a valid thing, and that's what I even said in the video. If you just want a gun, you can go out and shoot. It'll probably run fine. You can beat up. I mean, that's why Fox got the Pioneer AK last year. It's a beater. It works. If it's overgassed and will beat itself to death a little sooner, because I mean, any gun will eventually beat itself to death, or where springs at, whatever. Yeah, that's perfectly good reason. Perfectly good. I couldn't make myself, not right now, sell the 104 FR. Ironically, I was kind of looking because I need to sell a couple of guns to cover some appliances in the cabin. I actually looked at my Galil Ace carbine. Haven't put it up on the chopping block yet, but I don't know. Maybe it's a Gen 1. It might do decent. But if you maybe sell one or the other, the SLR 104 FR or the SLR 105 A1. Oh yeah, the 104 FR is going away. I would keep the 105 A1, and I actually paid less for it. I actually think when I bought it, I found someone who won a 104 FR, so worked out well for everyone. You got a point. The M70 isn't like ridiculously heavy, but it's noticeable. And one nice thing about the Ishmash guns, the Segas, this goes for the shotguns versus the Vepr shotguns too. They are noticeably lighter, and they're still sturdy. They're not flimsy. Oh, you've never heard of the Happy Dog pistol grip? Watch my. It's a dog boner. It's a dog that's happy. It's a dog boner. But it's something I've been saying on here for literally 10 years or more. Back when we did the 104 FR versus SGL 31 video, which was actually when the SGL 31 was still in the market in 2014. It's just a thing I say because it makes me laugh. You probably don't want to look up Happy Dog, though. That can't do good things to your Google search history. Rational Mind, yeah, the 103. Does it not show the 104? I would think it still shows the pistol. It might be in a different section because it's a pistol. Um, I know a bit about the 101, but I'm under not official NDR, but just unofficial. They were needing some specs and things from original stuff I had last year. I'm happy to provide it to them. I'd provide it to anyone if they wanted it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I want a better AK in America. If PSA asked me, I'd be happy to provide whatever help I could do. PTR. I have a story about them this week too, but I won't spill the beans too much. Let's just say A much bigger and better YouTube channel than mine had me order in a PTR K3P for him this week. He got it in because it wasn't when I had the Stratus. I got it for him, and he was not pleased with it. But he'll have a video out soon. It wasn't Chris Bartacci, but yeah, yeah. The bubblegum buttstock sort of still got on my SA 93. I don't think it'll go anywhere. It's just so different. It's okay to sell a gun secondhand when you're not an FFL. The trick is you originally didn't buy it with the intention of reselling. Like it's perfectly fine to get a gun a couple of years later, decide you want something else and flip it. That's perfectly fine. Especially if you shipped it and you sold it, um, through a dealer. Like any dealer that you have ship a gun is gonna log it in from you, and the paperwork will be fine. That's what I do too. If I sell a personal gun, I log it in from me to an FFL, ship it, and that way it's all on the books. Because you know, no one wants the feds on their necks. No one. The thing is, no one promised that original price on the HD 18. If you really go back and look at all the forums, that was speculation. They got speculated so much it just kind of turned into de facto fact. Now, I'm not talking about what Perdue said because I'm sorry, Perdue has no credibility. He said things that were patently not true. So if he said, "Oh, they're going to be this," so what? That's not a company promising you anything. That's just not how it is. Ugh, 5.5 for a Tiger. No thanks. Not that they're bad, but for one thing, a lot of people shot Groza through them. How they take care of them, I don't know. For another, having the short barrel, while it's kind of a cool basis for like a SVDS or SVDM type clone, eh, not for 5,500 for a used gun with an unknown history. You are correct about the new slab side jacks. They have nitride barrels. They're essentially the economy option. People say the WVP is a little expensive, so go to a slightly cheaper barrel. Go to take the scope rail off, get the price down a smidgen, see how it does. I mean, the standard jack, the Fox, are still an option. Uncle, good candidates for AK-47 SBRs. Personally, and you say 47, so I'm thinking 760 by 39. Personally, I love the M92. This is Stava. 10-inch barrel, cool. Another one I really like, but it's so long for an SBR, would be the FEG AMD 65s, like the old Tennessee guns. I just don't think it's a great SBR candidate because you're only like 2 inches shorter. It's got a 12.5-inch barrel. Time you put on that big snake break, it's over 14 inches. I don't know. I personally wouldn't do an SBR for less than 2 inches. But yeah, I like the. And kind of the same thing goes for the Draco. As much as I do like the Draco, it's a 12 plus inch barrel. I don't know, just doesn't really seem. But yeah, the M92 strikes me as a good one. But yeah, there is the WBP mini jack if you're not really going military. Um, I didn't keep one. I ended up giving mine to Fox after he literally pestered me from Thanksgiving of 2021 until like the latter half of Christmas of 2020. I just gave it to him to shut him up. Nah, it's fine. It's a cool gun. It's held up well. Yep, Zastavas weren't chrome lined up until the Z-Paps. I wonder if part of it, and this is just total speculation, but one difference that Yugoslavia, later Serbia, did, most of their ammo was brass case, whereas a lot of your other Warsaw Pact nations were steel case. And no one knows for sure why they didn't chrome. Because what's funny is when they did 5.56 guns starting in the 80s, running through the 90s, they started chroming them. And when they did some export stuff, they would chrome. So it wasn't like the idea that they didn't have chromium is bunkus. In fact, if you look back at export records, it's certain parts of Yugoslavian history, they exported chrome. So that wasn't the reason. Could also be accuracy. Anytime you chrome a bore, especially if you don't have really precise tooling, you have to oversize the bore for the chrome. And if you aren't really precise about it, you can have degradation in accuracy. We're not talking like 5 MOA versus 3, but you might have 2 MOA versus 2 1/4, 2 1/2 if you're not really tight on your tolerances. Keep in mind, too, that Yugoslavia reverse engineered the Kalashnikov. So, yeah, I don't know. Yes, Jessica Sam. Yep, they looked at what they could use from East Germany. Also, if you look at the mags the G36 used, they were kind of inspired by that. In fact, there was a notion to even try to use AK-74 mags in their next rifle when they were switching away from the G11 to the what was it, the HK-53? What was the prototype name? Anyway, or 54, whatever it was. But that didn't work out, so they did their own thing. But yeah, they were like, well, there's a bunch of nice bayonets. Now, what's funny is newer guns, and of course, it's just a ring on the barrel, would use like a Stanag type bayonet. And it wasn't like the G36, even from the get go, could take a unmodified 74 bayonet. They did have to modify the muzzle ring considerably to fit. So they basically gave it a new crossguard, a new ring. But it is funny to see literally an AK bayonet lug on a HK. I agree. Yeah, I've seen some SVD type furniture modified for Segas and Vepers, and it's pretty slick. It's pretty cool. A friend of mine's got the folding stock. It's an SVDS folder that was modified for a Sega 12. I can't remember one of the Segas he's got. It's pretty neat. Yep, Weber. Yep, for whatever reason their own military sales and similar they didn't crumb. AK is made for commercial use, maybe. I guess you have to define. Are we talking like civilian commercial or like export commercial? Because sometimes that gets convoluted. I've seen some companies really put their best foot forward if they're trying to impress a foreign government to get a contract. Yeah, Bob, that's kind of yeah converting a. No, I'll say it's not worthwhile, but yeah. Something to watch. Yeah, I'm not to the point yet where I'm gonna sell any of my 545 guns. I really enjoy them. Plus, you got to remember, mine's wearing plum. It's my only plum, and even though I'm blind, I still like plum. I feel it, feel it. It's ultraviolet plum. Yeah, I mean 900 for that PSA doesn't sound horrible if you think you can sell the shit. I just end up with buckets of shit though. I think I want to sell it and then I'll forget about it and find it 2 years later. It's not so much the Skinwalker part of your name that interests me. It's the Hidden Valley Ranch. I'm just envisioning a Skinwalker squirting Hidden Valley Ranch dressing out of its nipples. Kind of like Evil Dead 2, with Harriet and Ash. Yeah. Why is your through weight in California, or did you sell it? Yeah, I'm with you on the rivet thing. It really isn't a big deal, but like when I was doing the comparison of the Atlantic Tula, or excuse me, the Atlantic HS versus the PSA Tula, although Atlantic had Tulas too. When you've got guns that are essentially being made from the same parts kits, you do have to focus on the other details. And so, yeah, the rivets become more, especially because they were the same money. That kind of shocked me. I think the PSAs needed to be a little cheaper, and that would have given them an edge. But when you're comparing apples to apples on the prices, yeah, I'm going with Atlantic and a Childers receiver and proper rivets. Uh, I'm gonna be honest. I Even though I wanted the KR 101 to succeed, and again, it's not dead yet, guys. Don't write it off. You never know. It didn't interest me because it's not really a military gun, or at least based on even because, like I said, it was kind of a failure. The Jack 556 is fine, but man, I'm gonna tell you, and I've said this in lots of videos. If you can get an FB Ratum, if you just want the base model, they're around 1500. But Arms of America released a package that had all the WC-96 Barrel accoutrement, the rail, the stock. So if you want a clone of a military gun, they were under 2K and they came with everything. As far as I remember, they had the foregrip even. The Barrel is the way to go. You can also look into the Zastava M90. I like that. So it's not so much that I think the Jack 556 is bad. I just think there are better options. But this is just, personal opinion. Is the Jack's River Saver? It's neither. I mean, if you do a side folder like AK series, they're different. If you have a 4.5 pin, it has a certain angle. If you do a 5.5 pin, it's a little different angle, and both of them are different from essentially a straight cut. Yeah, but I'm talking about left folders, and those are pretty unique to Bulgaria, Russia, and Russia, not counting like Venezuela and things that we can't get. Vepers, my phone number is pretty much everywhere. Shoot me an email, I'll give you my phone number. But again, email Ozark Bear Arms, bear like the animal at Gmail. I'm happy to talk, but uh, RWC never imported those as such, so yeah, I was just reading. Yeah, I said that almost has to be a conversion, maybe a very well done one. But yeah, I don't think our no our didn't. I really don't think so. I am 95% sure that that was just probably a well done conversion because even the SGL 31s and 21s that had the folders did not have the reinforcing plate. I don't know anything about more HD18s. I would imagine FEG's having trouble getting FEG defense is getting more from Russia. Yeah, if you uploaded your cryptid encounter, I'd be down. I told you earlier when I'm doing like personal time, I don't actually do a lot of gun stuff. That's one of the things I do look into. It's interesting. Yeah, if I sold any of my 5.45 guns, I would know I wouldn't replace them because I think that's a snapshot, and especially the imports. That's just a snapshot in time. Yeah, good trade on the Mac 90 too. Mac 90s are out there. Yeah, they're going up in price, but I don't think I have any plum left. But if I do, I might have a couple of plum buttstocks. But when I had those sets in, Arsenal had them or K-Bar years ago. It was weird. They had the original Russian forearm, upper and lower, and the original Russian buttstock, and then they sold them with the U.S. plum pistol grip, which leads me to believe they just didn't have the original part. The funny thing is, they actually had original Russian black pistol grips. So yeah, yeah. I mean, 40K is only roughly 40K. Cases. I know it's a little less or a little more depending on exactly which size you got. I remember two sizes, but yeah, people forget how cheap that was. It was $100 a tin. TN, welding bayonet lug or chasing gas block. Here's my only thing about welding a bayonet lug. It can definitely be done right, no problem. But you want to definitely control your heat. You definitely do not want your barrel and or gas block itself getting over hot and potentially goofing up the tempering. So if you're going to do a welding up of a lug, yeah, just do it right. It's no problem. Judging a gas block isn't that hard if you have the tooling. If you have the tooling. If you have the tooling. But just to be honest, I usually just swap the gas blocks. It's easier for me. Yeah, but 2012 was still kind of high water marks. That ammo really didn't start hitting here until about 2008, 2009. So you're about halfway through. Aztec Warrior, let me know if anything's up. Yeah, 5.45 along with 7.62 54R. It was, and also 7.62 25 was cheap, cheap, cheap. But 5.45 was cheap because not many guys had guns that shot it. And the reason it was here was Russia was in a few other nations too, but mostly Russia, were dumping old stock. Like they weren't getting rid of their newer production, they were getting rid of their stuff from like the Afghan war era, the 80s. But it was intense, so it's fine. Jessica Semp, yeah, that doesn't shock me that they try scaling. Frankly, probably scaling up the RPD would be good. One of the issues they had with the RPD 7.6239 being a belt fed was not enough oomph. Bingo on the M90 versus the Jack. As much as I like AKMs, yeah, it's just an AKM in 5.56. The M90 is its own thing. And I do kind of like that the M90 has a slightly longer barrel. 18 inches is a really good length for that caliber. And a three position adjustable gas regulator. Hey, that's never a bad thing. On the 104 FRs, I remember after they dropped as late as what 2015, 2016 Thanksgiving, they were on sale retail for 9.99 because no one wanted them. I think that's actually when Jade finally bought his. But if people didn't want them because they couldn't get them, because they could get them, you know how it goes. Yeah, bakes are cool, but people discount the brick brown and the brick red and the kind of unique Bulgarian colors. I remember everyone wanted the plum, which were Russian, and that's neat and all, but I tried to have a little bit of each. Oh, and kind of the sandy color ones. Yeah, the 1916, the Firearm. You could argue it's maybe an assault rifle only because they intentionally chambered it for a lower power cartridge, 6.5 Arasaka, instead of 7.62 54R. It, talking about 74 mags, it was really hard to get true black AK-74M Russian mags. It was really hard. I finally got a few from Legion USA, but that was one of the harder mags to find in America. Ooh, cutting up a plum set for an air shot. Yeah, yeah, I can feel your. Yeah, but then again, who knew? I mean, they were cheap enough back then. And when Kavar had plum, you went with Russian. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I don't remember a high gloss total plum set. They definitely made a high gloss plum pistol grip. I think they were mostly Tulas, but those usually were still paired with wood furniture. They were kind of a transition, but there's so many variations and all that. Bulgaria has made a couple of grenade launchers. They had a submachine gun called a cigarette, a shipka. The Vepr Pioneer. I don't think it'd be interesting for someone to convert. I think just leave the Vepr Pioneer the way it is. They're kind of their own thing. Oh yeah, when the 106s, really all of them, the 106Fs, the FRs, not so much the CRs, but yeah, the UR pistols, yeah, but people didn't want again, they kind of suffered from the internet thing. Everyone talked down about the 223 stamped arsenals, and there were all these weird claims online, and there were definitely a couple of guns that had issues, but as happens over and over again, a couple of bad things just turns off an entire group when most of the guns out there were Jim Dandy. Dylan, I think the consensus was essentially we don't know the full story yet on KUSA. There's a little bit of talk about this and that, maybe some money owed, but there's also really only one person that seems to be talking directly about them going out of business and they might have a conflict of interest. Nothing concrete is known yet. At least it wasn't before I hopped onto this live stream. It could have changed in the last couple hours. I don't know. Oh yeah, there were some glossy mags too. I've got a pretty glossy star one, so Sortula. I kind of like throwing it in my 104 UR, the AKSU 74, AKS 74U. Looks cool. Yeah, I remember those pads. For a while, Arsenal had some. For whatever reason, they smelled like hot dogs to me. Not like good hot dogs, but like the cheap kind of synthetic hot dogs. Or is that just me? They had an odd smell though. Yeah, I could see hand loading for 545 not being the easiest thing in the world, but needs must. You're right about being a marketing ruse, unintentionally or otherwise. They might just be capitalizing on it because they've got a lot more attention this week than they've had in the last few months. I don't know. I don't know if they're that smart. I'm going to be honest. Bought out by High Point. Well, that is a thing. How about Keltec? They can get bought out by Keltec. Eh, Everywhere has slightly different oils, cosmolines. You can really get used to. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna get up and take a drink because my throat's drying out. Seems like a good time to switch over to topic number two. Also, if anyone wants to pitch in a couple of extra bucks, greatly appreciated. Trying to get out pretty soon and shoot, and just bought some more ammo. But yeah, let's talk about the weird comments situation that arose starting Tuesday, and hopefully has been resolved. But it was a strange one. I've been on YouTube since early part of 2011 and never quite seen anything like it. First, a drink. Sadly, just ice water. As fun as drinking on stream would be. Gotta do something to embarrass myself. So yeah, it all started over the weekend. I uploaded 3 videos, and what I typically do, I'll upload a video, set the monetization, and set it to unlisted. That way, when it gets like restricted, which most gun videos do, limited ads, restricted, I can hit the essentially request review button. And for once, they were really quick. I did that Saturday, and by Sunday, they already approved all the videos, so all 3 were fine. In fact, the P64, the so-called Makarov, wasn't ever flagged. They're pretty easy on handguns. It's evil rifles. Anywho, they were approved. So I decided I'm gonna list the Polish video, and I already listed the Yashesk, the Atlantic shooting video, no problems. So I went to list the Polish video Tuesday, and did what I always do. It said, comments are turned off. I didn't do that, so I went in, turned it on. Comments are turned off, To save you all the boring going back and forth, I even tried unlisting the video, privating it, going back and forth. I even considered re-uploading it. And it happened with the other video I did too. I thought, okay, that didn't work, so let me try listing the SIG Spear video that I had ready. Same thing, comments are unlisted. At this time, the HS video is still comments, but then Wednesday it gets hit and its comments get turned off. And again, I'm talking with other people, and folks are saying, oh, they're going after the 2A community again. I'm thinking, maybe, never say never, but there's no flags, there's no warnings. One thing I'll say about YouTube, they will tell you when they don't like something you're doing. You may not like it, you might not have a way to even argue with them, but they usually, in some way, shape, or forms, email you or they flag it on your channel, and none of that was happening. In fact, like I said, all three videos were clean, not even limited ads. Strange, especially being the Polish P64. I tried flipping them back and forth, turning the videos on and off, and it would let me. I could go into the show more options and set to comments on, and then set the rating, basic monetization, what have you. And it would let me save, no issues, no flags popping up. But then when I would go back here, they would just be comments turned off. Other channels were having this, but a lot of them seemed like once they went in and manually set comments to on, they would just stay on. And as far as I know, and maybe some of my older videos did get hit, but I looked through the last like 10 videos, and only those three, one of which still isn't published, got the comments turned off. But this morning I tried again, it didn't work. And then I uploaded the Eclipse video, which you guys should watch. It was a good time, the Eclipse camping trip. J-Ro put together a video together for me. After I did that and tried again, it let me turn the comments on and stay on. Again, no notifications, no nothing. Nothing changed. I didn't change the titles or, re-edit the videos. And it seems, and again, unless it's happened while we've been on here on the live stream, because when I'm on here, you get my full attention. It seems like it was just a glitch because it wasn't just gun community channels. If anything, they're just one of many. And it really does seem to have just hit randomly. I think, in looking back, the only thing that YouTube really changed was they put a new section in for AI generated content. Because it's kind of become a big thing now of people using AI to make artwork for their channels, and then turns out the AI, when it's sampled copyright art from other people. And that's a new option on YouTube. Obviously, my videos don't have anything like that in them. Even if I wanted, I couldn't do it. But I wonder if that goofed things up. Heck, I even wondered if it was a T-shirt I was wearing. I was wearing the electrician T-shirt that day. I wondered if, like, the YouTube bot just saw my T-shirt in the video and thought I was using that as art in the video. I don't know. I may never know. But I think it was just a bot, an algorithm run amok and not doing what it was supposed to do. Because it was fine Sunday, and then again, the next time I tried to publish a video, it happened Tuesday. Hopefully, though, knock on wood, that's it. It was just a glitch. And that, even though I haven't ever seen this happen on YouTube before in all my years, I've seen other kinds of just weird ass glitches. So, oh, what I do realize is if you gave me a choice between full monetization and no comments, or no monetization and comments, I'm going to be honest, I'd rather have the comments. I like the interaction. I like being able to post a video and go back and see what you guys think. Part of it's just fun, like the macro video, the P64 if you prefer. That was just for fun. On the other hand, like with the AK video, the PSA and the Atlantic stuff, I actually learned a lot just based on the comments I was observing from other people. And without that interaction, it's very static. It's very boring. At that point, I'm not sharing with you. I'm not talking with you. I'm just like talking at you, and that's boring for me, and I would think you too. So let me know if anyone else has had the issue, if it's been resolved, if it's ongoing. What other weird channels? We were talking about cryptids earlier with wrench dressing, and I heard that those videos kind of got hit. I don't know what this started off as, but I definitely think it was doing unintended things on YouTube. But they never said anything. They just kind of let it roll. But that did kind of stress me out because I had videos ready to go, but again, without a way to interact with the community, what's the point? Because I don't do this for money. I'm happy if I operate even each month. Usually, the cost of range, ammo, cleaning gear, paying for gas for someone to drive me there is barely covered. Sometimes not even that. I'm not in it to do. I'm in it so I can go out and shoot, but that's why I record everything to share with you guys. So I'm not going to pretend like I don't get something out of it. I get to do something I enjoy, be outdoors and shoot. But I'm also not using it to rake in stuff. But again, I don't really. The money is secondary. The money is just so I can keep doing what I like doing, and hopefully you guys enjoy too. But without comments to hear how people like or don't like, because I don't mind a negative comment either. And if something sucks, let me know and I won't do it anymore because it's just a waste of all of our times. But it's nice when people actually enjoy a video along with us, and it just feels better. Now I catch up on you here. All right, I think I'm caught up. Hey, Mark Brown. Appreciate you dipping in. Yeah, I was doing streams for a few months there, but my excuse February, my April was just so busy. Either I wasn't home to do them, or when I was just too tired. So I just kind of took a little break. Plus, I didn't have a lot to talk about. It's been pretty quiet. I'm hoping once the cabin gets done, I'll be out there. I'll have good internet and time, and we can just hang. Yeah, the P64, they're not too bad considering how much stuff has gone up. They're still like 350, I think, but four maybe. When I bought mine, and this was back when Bulgarians were like 80 bucks, they were still like 150, the P64s. So they were always higher than the others. But to be fair, they made them in smaller numbers and they are really nice quality. Gotcha. So I'm so dull and monotone that I am mistaken for a robot. I don't know how to take that. Hmm. I think the answer is needs more cat. Yeah, 3,000 plus, especially with tax on top for that gun. Man, I'd want to know how the conversion was done. It was done right, awesome. But yeah, just the unknowns. Yeah, you might have noticed my channel is definitely about teaching. Um, those who are up, I thought about trying to do shorter videos, which are more snappy and, the algorithm. I gotta be true to myself. I can do 30-minute give or take videos, but much less than that. I just don't feel like I'm giving my best work. It's not who I am. And I'd rather do videos that get fewer views and just kind of stay in my little corner, but videos that I'm proud of that I think, yeah, I gave it my best, than do videos where I just feel like a sellout. And then I'll just, even if they get more views, it'll just be one amongst many. And what MG Dad have to say? I'm glad I was able to help you with the 106 and the Sega 223. Yeah, the 106s were a lot nicer than people gave them credit for. They were really nice, frankly. Yeah, people ask me about guns, and if I don't own one, or at least have a friend that does that I can get my hands on, I don't feel like I can really speak to it. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but even if I do a video on a gun I don't currently own, like when I did that video on the Johnson, the 1941, I did own it for a few years. So, you know, but here's the thing: I'll own a gun for years, and sometimes when I go to do a video, I'll learn something new about it. Usually a minor detail, but you don't observe everything at once. Yeah, Skinwalker. Yeah, I went through that back in 21 when that happened with me. It's hard. On the other hand, I actually found work sometimes when I was in the right headspace to be a good distraction or even a way to reaffirm that I was still alive. And M72, I just talked with them. They're saying we'll see it later on this year. That's what they're saying as of like a week ago. So Zava thinks we will. How can Arsenal bring back the SLR 106 UR? They don't have their thing with ISD anymore. Not Dell, huh? I think sometimes I even put Hobo the cat to sleep. Look over there and she'll just be. Not having the side rail, I kind of like it. The slick side look is kind of neat, especially in a world where sometimes it seems like every new gun has a side rail. I understand it's very useful for you, not for me, but it's kind of nice to have variation. I mean, AK slings aren't really short for their day and time. But yeah, they were just a carry sling. They weren't really meant for anything else. It's just a carry sling. Keep in mind too, different AKs, different lengths. If you hooked one up, the original AK, the sling swivels were slightly closer together. Not by a whole lot, but slightly closer together. And some of the Russian slings I've got are really quite long, in my opinion. I was just laughing about the 21-inch barrel. Yeah, I didn't even plan on doing this chat. The only reason I think I did it is today. Everything was kind of coming up Millhouse. J-Ro got the Eclipse video done. Again, if you guys could go over and show it some love, I think he'd really appreciate that. And the comments thing got resolved. I had a delivery that actually came in on time without a lot of fuss. So even though I was stuck indoors in the rain, it was just one of those kind of quietly good days. So I thought I'm gonna try my luck and see if the live chat works. Because last time I tried, remember it kept saying going live and just stalling out, and it was just weird. I never did figure out that issue either. Again, YouTube. I don't know, guys. Unless you're listening, YouTube, in which case we all love you. Also, pay us all more. Oh, is there 57 likes? Yeah, hit some likes. Because I'm reading your guys' comment, I can't really scroll. That's one of the negative things. The way my TTS works, it has like a virtual focus, and so I use the keyboard up and down. So if I were to try to go up and look at the likes, I'd completely lose my place in the comments. So yeah, go ahead, like, because it can't hurt. Definitely helps. Also, pitching up a couple of bucks because again, I need to get out. Now that the leaves are coming in, probably gonna cut some steel soon. There's that range builder tier over there. I've got a couple of guys that have signed up for it, but if anyone else wants to sign up and help pick some targets, you know, here's the problem with 5.56 spare parts, and this is not counting like the Polish barrels because they're a military issue. Most of your 5.56 guns are commercial. So spare parts really aren't in existence. That's why I always try to stick to military type guns. Yeah, the Polish things are cool, and there's a lot of variations. If you look at my various Polish guns, I try to put different variations on each of my Polish just to break it up. But there's the kind of newer style with the kind of anti-mildew green. They're kind of stiff, but the ones I really like are the soft, kind of loose weave. And I also like kind of the early style with the leather tab instead of the metal hook. And there's also some Polish slings of different colors, like black. There's like the modern black barrel sling, of course, but there's also like a traditional sling, but instead of green, it's in black. And I've had that on like my Nigerian clone. Which style did you get, Eric? The sling I have on my AUG is just the factory Steyr sling. It's always worked fine for me. Not too long, not too short. It's got a couple of adjustments. Hey, not creative. Oh, you mean like favorite pre-band of any kind? You're not wrong on the Daewoo. It may not be my bar none favorite, but it's in the running. Like if you said favorite 223 pre-band, it's just so neat. In fact, I actually took it out when we did the Eclipse shoot, but I didn't get to shoot it. We brought extra guns out because we didn't know how much time we'd have. But time we got all packed up from the camping and everything, but we did shoot more guns that you'll be seeing soon, including two other pre-mans. But yeah, it's one I really do like, and they were sleepers. They were so cheap for what the quality was, and they've held up well. Like rarely do you see a pre-band Daewoo that has like super finish wear. Whatever they did to them, they were really well built. Yeah, if it's on the Sim 7, I get it. It is kind of stretched out, and it does seem like the Bulgarian greens are a little shorter than the Russians. Excuse me. You might try getting a Russian. I also put a couple of Vickers Blue Force slings on mine. Like my KP 104 has a Vickers sling on it. For modern slings, I actually really kind of like those. I like the quick adjust buckle. I like slings with quick adjust on them, personally. I'm confused by the Swamp Trump 2024. I don't know what that means. Stay or getting bought. I'm gonna be honest. Companies get bought and sold all the time. It doesn't always mean a whole lot of anything. It can, but yeah. I would imagine they're all going to M90s or M85s. Yeah. And again, COVID really screwed up distribution. Companies that had stockpiles of spare parts ended up having to use those because a lot of parts were hard to get during COVID. Yeah, and I think doing a 106 as an ersatz AKS 74 is fine because even though ballistically 545 and 556 are a little different and the mags look a little different, the truth is they're close enough for government work. Certainly closer than 7.62 39. So if you want essentially the experience of small diameter, high velocity, but don't want to do 545, bada boom, there you go. And in other ways, aside from the mags, yeah, they're exactly AKS 74s. Yeah, but WBP 556 are commercial. And WBP is kind of interesting because even though they make guns, they started off as a gun parts provider to the USA. In fact, for the first couple of years, that's all they did. I don't know if they're export short slings or if they're intended for like shorter guns because a lot of the guns that Arsenal sells are like the ARM4 and other shorties that just have less distance between the front and rear sling loop too. Yeah, I hope you like your KR 103. Like I said, I got one just to review and was intending on just selling it or trading it off and just never did. It was just a little too neat. I never needed money that bad and it just stuck around and the KP 104, I always like the kind of intermediate length. I like the Draco, or in my case, I've got a Wasser KR, which is essentially a Draco with a folding stock and an extension on the end of the muzzle. But I like that length, not discounting SBRs and all that. I just so when it came out, I got it. I shot well, and that's why I actually sold my Arsenal SLR 106 CR, which was a really fun video to make because some people were kind of freaking out that I actually sold an import and kept a domestic AK. But it was kind of a special circumstance, and at the end of the day, the 106 is a great gun for an AKS 74 clone, but it's not 100% there for an AK 102. And the KP 104 is really close to an AK 104. Keep in mind too that Zastava's had some supply issues out of Serbia that really aren't Zastava's USA's fault. Yeah, both damn shame about Larry Vickers on the health front and on the legal front. That just sucks. It just sucks to see someone who is kind of living his best life. And I mean, maybe he was a dick to some people. I don't know, but he always struck me as nice. I don't know. He always treated people with respect that deserve respect. But again, mileage may vary. I don't want to get into a thing. I'm sure he's made enemies because anyone who's that important does. But he always struck me as a good bloke. I don't know where the steel comes from. I don't think it was the AN 94 that got Larry. I think it was a lot of things. There was a FAMAS involved, if that helps. Do I think PSA will do an SVD? No. Maybe like a PSL or M76, M91 type gun, but get overgrown AK, pepper, whatever. But an actual SVD, no. Yeah, I feel you on you said getting the stock on your barrel. A lot of times my personal guns take a far back seat. I mean, look at that video I did on the Yugoslavian M88. The thing has been sitting there needing fixing for literally years. I finally did it, but yeah, K-Man, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really looking to purchase guns. I'm just hoping I don't have to sell that many to finish off like the interior of the cabin. If I don't have to sell many, that'd be fine. I mean, there's obviously a few things I'd like to get. The Zastava M72 would be neato. Um, as some other interesting builds, and a lot of times things pop up that I don't even know I want until I see them. Kind of like with the Atlantic AKM build. Last year it was the Atlantic's Asian contract build, and I'm gonna be honest. It's not that I'm like a simp for Atlantic. It's just that Blaine and I, the owner of Atlantic, are kind of on the same wavelength. We both like weird, obscure builds. He's still a small enough outfit that he does the weird stuff. Once the company gets too big, they just kind of think. I wish Century would do a 545 RPK, but that does not seem likely. I like an import out of Romania. Being like, they couldn't do a parts kit build, but um, maybe some like flavor of Draco, some kind of new Draco would be kind of neat. I wouldn't mind getting another one of those, but Century hasn't really done anything. Um, yeah. Okay, I want to be honest. If you know the kind of people that'll buy a black market kidney, they're the exact same kind of people that would get you an AN94. I think that's kind of a problem and solution right in one. Hey James, I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, that Asian contract. Again, it was one I wasn't even planning on keeping, but it's just so weird and cool. And it's one of those guns that too many of my friends were like, "Hey, when you sell it, we want it." And I'm like, "Well, the only solution is I've got to keep it. Otherwise, I'm going to upset friends, right?" That's my excuse. But no, it was just a weird gun, and I don't have a North Korean. That's the closest I'm going to get. As much as yeah, it's U.S. receiver, yeah, it's U.S. barrel, but it was done right. Like what was that? A AK recreator, AK builder stuff. I mean, it was right profile. It was chrome lined. In a lot of ways, I think it probably was built nicer than originally done in Korea, North Korea. But I'm gonna try to bring more interesting things. I've got a lot of AKs that you guys have seen, but that haven't been out to their range in a while. That they need to stretch their legs. It's inevitable where the chat finally, once it gets certain long, it quits auto like scrolling. So one sec, let me get caught up here. Hope this doesn't screw anything up. We will see. I just had to refresh the page, or the chat page. So let me see if I can catch up here. Doing my best, guys. It's a little slow for me to keep up, but looks like it did get behind. Was I think I got. All right, Pepper. I'm at your first AK story, so let me hear here. Give me a second. Yeah, I remember those set screw brakes. I remember them very clearly. My remaining SAR2 had a set screw brake for a minute way back in the day. Going to prison over a French gun. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, going to prison over any gun sucks because at the end of the day, you lose all guns. So it's really a zero sum game. If you can go, well, it's a principle thing. Yeah, but you don't get to keep it. You lose it all. So no gun's worth losing all guns and the right to even shoot guns over. And just to be clear, and you guys know this, I'm not agreeing with the things. I'm just saying the realities. You can argue with a judge till you're blue in the face, but if you violate the law, the best they're going to say is, well, sucks that that's the law, but that's the law and you broke it. So the gavel comes down. Both kidneys? No, I don't have any kidneys. Again, before worried about Riley Defense acquiring, let's see what happens with KUSA in the end. Maybe they'll restructure. Maybe it's just a layoff. Maybe it's the end of the world. I don't know. Wish I did. I always listen to stories. I like stories. Stories are nice. Yes, FB showed off a folder of the barrel. FB didn't pass up the folding collapser. It was actually the Polish government. When they went to the WZ96C, the Polish government just wanted a collapsing stock, not the collapsing folder. So while they did have that stock, it never, it's like the folding front sight. It just never really made it much past that stage. Again, companies can show off all kinds of things, and governments might pick and choose what they want. Also, kind of on the flip side, look at the original Baril handguard from that era. It was hideous. Oh, a Draco 545. Oh, fucking hell yeah. That would be essentially an M80 short rifle. If you could get one with the original style left side folding stock, oh god, that would be tight. The birdcage flash hider, the early style one with the kind of conical. Yeah. Way back in the day, K-Bar, we're talking back when they were just starting, 2001, had some of those kits. James, yeah, the SCG 44 clone, the before that the HMG 44 clone. Jay and I were talking about that way back in 2014, so 10 years ago. What I'm reading is Eric likes dongs. Oh yeah, I'm not going to argue with you, Skinwalker on 545. Again, I was one of the first adopters, at least the ones that are still around here. I had to special order my SAR2 back in the day, and no one really knew what that was, and it was just so weird. But it was just fun, and everyone I let shoot it really loved it. The only downside to them versus 556, at least in that platform, I do notice they heat up quicker. Yeah, a lot less felt recoil in a lot of ways. Really fun, really smooth, pretty accurate. But they do burn through that barrel and make some friction, make some heat. Hey Vepper, thank you. Yeah, you're right. That'll be about a half. That's God. That's just sad. I remember you remember it too. I'm sure when that stuff was not even $5 a box. Oh God, it makes. Oh, I don't know. What can we do? But you know what? I can bitch and moan, but I'm still gonna shoot. It's kind of like being all complaining about gas being higher. People are still gonna drive around, but I can't not go out and shoot. I do try to limit my shooting. If you've noticed, I instead of doing 500 rounds, I'll try to do like 200 through a gun in a day. And that's really enough if it's running fine. There's no reason to just burn through ammo because it is money. But on the other hand, I can't just shoot 5 rounds and go, yep, the gun works great. Speaking of, I know I need to do the Wasser 3. That's on the short list, that last summer. But yeah, hey, I love the Wasser UF. Yeah, it is not pretty, but I love that like classic AKS 47, like the Type 3 stock. The one I kept, there were the later PM65s that had like the tubular stamp hollow steel stock, but I kept one of the milled ones, and I think they're cool. And it's a blued gun. I think the receiver and the barrel are phosphate, but the rest of it's original blued parts. I think it's a 67 dated kit. Yeah, Skinwalker. I can't shoot deer, but I can sure eat deer. I can cook deer too. If you're ever around, I can cook a mean deer tenderloin. Also a deer burger. Do I have any experience with the PR01 quad rail? I mean, I've handled them. It's a quad rail. They're fine. Arsenal stuff, it's a little expensive. It's usually built pretty tough most of the time. I think the only Arsenal thing that really disappointed me was that telescoping stock they did on the Sam 7 TP a couple of years ago. The thing is, too, with the mill guns, unless you just need rail space, I don't like adding weight to those. I don't mind the weight of a Sam 7R or Sam 7 SF, but it's kind of right on that line. Even just adding a few ounces, you start to really notice it. What if you were born with three kidneys? The best I can remember on the stock, and I could be misremembering, but part of it was cost. You're adding a folding mechanism. Part of it's weight and bulk. You're adding that, and part of it was they were really. If you look at the adjustable they went with, they were I think they were thinking for rifle grenade launching, and yeah, having a folder there would be a weak point for rifle grenades because otherwise, they've got that reinforcing plate in there. around the pistol grip nut, and they've got three rivets in the back, so it's pretty strong back there. So they might have just felt like, you know, what's the point? And of course, if they wanted that big rubber boot like they had, it would not have folded very well to the side. Just probably wasn't worth it. Yes, the Semi-Auto MP44 is definitely the Half-Life 3 of guns, or whatever book George R. R. Martin is supposed to be on Game of Thrones. This is like eternal stuff that if it ever came out, ooh. But on the other hand, is it better to be that or the Duke Nukem Forever? I think looking at ammo here, the last really good buy I think I got on ammo was from SG Ammo a few years ago when we found some for like 105 for a case of 1,000. But it was actually a misprint. They meant to do 105 for a case of 500, and they had it in the system wrong. But we bought it, and to SGMO's credit, they honored the order. So can't say fairer than that. They only had like four cases, so Jay and I bought all four. I actually did own a Champion 2007 when they came out. Threaded barrel, 5.56. I don't know why I sold it. It was a neat gun. Yeah, I can see that on the Sam 7R. Yeah, I really, yeah. The birth bonus for the extra kidney. What if the doctor didn't know? Hey, Sunny Cat. Yeah, I mean, I like Arsenal stuff, like including their quad. I'm just saying a lot of people prefer others because they're not especially long. A lot of people like, and I don't like it, but you see a lot of guns now that have the extended out front quad rail on different things, and yeah, just yeah, I don't know. Look up WZ 2004. That might have it, or at least some of those might have that folding collapser. Yeah, I can't remember if we tried those Bulgarian mags that day, but I've got them. We will. We'll hop back in. It's just time and effort. There's always more guns that need shooting than time we have. That's something again I'm hoping to resolve at the cabin because when I'll be out there for a few days at a time, there just won't be the rush. You know, I can really take time. At least that's the hope. Yeah, I got the 2007 because I think I remember back then that you couldn't get the Dracos. Like that particular day, Century was sold out of the 7.62 39. So I bought it at 2007. Yeah, I mean, I had one literally back in like 2007. We were talking before the YouTube channel, before I was a dealer. Yeah, and that Wager clone wasn't anything special. It was essentially just like an RH10 or an M10 from M plus M. I mean, it was just once you took the furniture off, it was just a wasser with a combo gas block. Essentially, it was just dolled up, and a lot of the parts were actually or ATI. I can't remember which. Yep, I like to jack off to. Now it's just in. I got that new slick side jack, so I need to take out my previous jack with the FB barrel. I'm kind of curious if it's going to make any difference. And then I've got my prototype first generation Fox, so I'll bring it out. Yes, the M70. You see, and that's another gun. The M70 doesn't need extra weight. Does not need extra weight. And the M70 already has a slightly extended handguard. So why? To book, I mean, there were some like Two Rivers that were doing builds. As a Stava gun or parts kit is definitely your best bet because that's really where Iraq started. And then just put a longer barrel in it. There's a few other special parts, but yeah, I'd either start with a Zastava rifle or a Zastava parts kit and go from there. I do know Jack, that is for sure. Oh, anything else on everyone's mind? Like I said, I haven't really been too tuned into the gun world, but those kind of seem the biggest things in my week. KUSA and the comments kerfuffle. Nothing new from Switzerland. I talked to Dave late last week, I think last Friday, and we're still awaiting on the next batch of Swiss guns. I'm just reading that. I refreshed the page again, guys. Well, yeah, Hungarian kit. Yeah, but those are kind of cool though. I have a really big soft spot for Hungarian AKs. They're not my favorite, but I don't know. It's kind of like that one food that you're not always in the mood for. But when you're in the mood for it, man, it hits the spot. And that's how I feel about Hungarian guns. Eric, where are you at? Where do you live? You said morning approaches. Remember, I can't see your little flags that you guys have, so I don't know. And if you said earlier, I apologize, but the LR 300? What do you mean? Ah, morning. It's not Texas morning. It's not even midnight yet. It's a Friday night. Day job, day job. Hey, that means you're working. You could give me more money. Mm. I really should start drinking during these. It would make things more interesting for at least one of us. I don't know how that go. Liquor is one of those things. You think, oh, I'm just a little tipsy, and then you wake up the next day and realize you did something really stupid online. Yeah, I don't think Dave needs help with that JDI. I mean, he's just been waiting on the Swiss guns. If he got more guns in, but they had a couple of little spurts there where they did like those 400 5.51s and they did a couple hundred 5.50s. But other than that, they've been quiet again. I think they've got government contracts. Yeah, the AMD 65, I've always liked it. Always, ever since I first got into AKs. I think of last time I was in Austin. I've definitely been to Austin before, but it's been a minute. I'm usually either down like Houston or more often Dallas Fort Worth. Yeah, around the world, AMD 65s have been a really good product for FEG because it was a really unique AK for its day and time. Ooh. You say AMD 65s have skyrocketed in price, so what are they going for now? I wish Steyr would do more with the AUG in America. You know, for a minute there, they were really pretty good. They had the NATO, the traditional mags, different colors, different barrel lengths, the 9 mil kits. But again, it is, I don't want to say it's a one trick pony, but I guess there is just kind of a wall of what you can do with it. And bullpups, the market is very fickle in America, very fickle. Yeah, I did a video on those baby blue buttstocks. Basically, it was a buttstock, and then the pistol grips were close in Q, but a little different. And yeah, last year was it or early this year? No, I think it was last year. Arms of America had some in, and they were virgin. They didn't have the whole stroke. Yeah, 800 for an AMD. The last time I think I sold one of the TGI in guns, that's about what it went for, about eight ish. What'd you do to your A3 M1? Ah, okay, I got you on the video. Yeah, as you might imagine, I'm not exactly up on the minutiae of video games. I know some things, but it's just kind of hearsay and listening to people as they talk. It wasn't actually food grade plastics from the U.S. It was from the USSR. You said you sold it. I think you mean saw too, but yeah. Well, they're probably just going to do whatever makes sense, wherever they can get. Yeah, the pickle optics. You've noticed I'm not a 300 blackout guy, but for those who are, that's cool. No judge. I just not my thing. I don't need any new calibers, and I'm not the biggest suppressor guy in the world. Again, I barely have time to shoot the guns I need to shoot already, and barely have enough money to afford the calibers I need to buy. 300 blackout makes other stuff look cheap. 2200 for I presume the AUG. Charles, inconclusive at this moment. What's really going to happen? Henry at Nine-Hole was doing his CQC. As far as I know, he finished it. Oh, come on. The AMD 65 stock's a classic. Man, I don't know where to get parts kits now. I mean, they're so expensive. I would say the usual suspects. Arms of America sometimes gets some neat kits in. For actual parts, sometimes Robert RTG gets some neat parts in, but rarely full kits. I mean, sometimes Atlantic has stuff like those Asian contract kits. They're just so expensive now, but that's just what it is. I mean, what can you do? Yeah, I'm with you on the new calibers. I'm not going to get rid of them, but what I've already got. But I'm trying to not get in the new stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've said it before and kind of given my reasons in videos. Of course, subjective. Your mileage may vary, but I think overall on the market now, the Breel is the best 5.56 AK. If nothing else, because it's the most tested and proven. There's some decent accessories out there. There's really no major downsides to them, especially with mags being pretty readily available. And the asking price, it's a little bit more, but still cheaper than most arsenals. Um, yeah, they're really not that bad compared to other guns nowadays. 2,200 for two barrels and the optics seems pretty good because typically spare barrels are like 400 bucks, and that optic is not exactly cheap either. Now, are the barrels 300 blackout or is one 300 blackout and one 5.56? Charles, one of whose guns in the wild? I've picked up a good number of kits from both Arms of America and Atlantic and have found them to come in the condition as advertised. I'm not gonna say like, oh, they say they're good condition and they come in excellent. No, if they say good, they'll be in good condition. But yeah, they've been honestly represented, in my opinion. Brill, Sam 5, I'd get a Brill, but your mileage may vary. I mean, Kalash USA. I guess you're talking about getting stuff over here. I'm a little confused. Sorry. I've been at this for over 2 hours. So sorry, brain, hard think. Donut. Yeah, yeah. Why not? I can see a night vision dog being pretty cool. Yeah, on the KR9. Sometimes I wish I'd got a KP9, but I like my KR9. It works well. I can't say the AUG is my favorite 5.56 gun of all time. It's my favorite bullpup. No, I mean, yeah, I like it a lot. I really do. But mm, there's others I do like more. But for a bullpup, it's my favorite. Oh, and Charles, no, the KUSAs are definitely out there. I mean, I own the KR9, the KR103 side folder, the KP104 pistol. They also did a KR103 fixed stock. They do the KS12 shotgun, a couple of versions of that. I don't own one, but I've done videos on them. Of course, there's the KP9 pistol. So it's not a huge list. I'm not gonna lie, but there's about half a dozen firearms, not counting all the stupid like weird furniture things that they did. But no, they started first shipping guns, the KR9 and the KP9 in 2019. Yeah, I mean they've done factory H bars for the AUG. Hey, now they had 9mm kits for literally like 2 weeks once, back in 2012. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've done any reviews, Charles, on the KUSAs. But yeah, just search either KUSA or Kalashnikov USA on the channel here, and you'll find them. I try to be pretty thorough, and they come out occasionally. I was thinking pretty soon I should throw one of them in the rig again, but they've kind of all three been boringly reliable. You were a miner, like coal mining, like in the ground. I guess in some ways I was kind of lucky. When I was still a minor, it was kind of the darkest ages of the guns. You know, the the 80s after the ban kind of sucked. Like the 90s, early to mid, yeah, there were a handful of neat things. Yeah, you could get Mac 90s, a couple other AKs, but once you got like a handful of things, it just sucked, especially after like 97 and Clinton added to Bush's original import thing. And a lot of the surplus had not hit yet in the late 80s, early 90s. There were a few things, there were some neat parts kits like FALs and 1A1s, but for the most part, the surplus stuff out of the former com block started hitting late 90s, early 2000s. And the FAL kits really started coming in post 95. The AK kits after around 2000, and then of course when the ban came off at the end of '04, that really opened up for a lot of other things. So when I was a minor, still teenager, where I would care but couldn't buy in the early to mid '90s, there wasn't a whole lot worth buying anyway. Plus, people forget that the political environment back then, even in the South, even in traditional conservative areas, was not very good towards those kinds of guns. And before the internet, unless you just happened to have a local friend that liked it, you were kind of alone. It wasn't until the internet kind of got up and running, like for me, it was something awful forums were one of the first places I could share liking AKs with other people that did. Because around my community in the 90s, there was that attitude of, why do you want that? That's not good for nothing but killing people. You can't hunt with it. First of all, yeah, you can hunt with an AK if you want, but yeah, people that were pro 2A were really only pro 2A for their stuff, which is typically hunting guns. This is even really before the concealed carry thing took off. People forget that really one of the first companies that spurred carry guns, like specific carry guns, was Caltech. Like the P32 and the P3AT and the P9R were among the first dedicated like modern carry guns. Not counting like the later Glocks like the 26s. And then Walther really brought it to the next level in 2007 with the PPS, which really started off the whole like full caliber slimline thing. Yeah, I hear on grade school. I was in the grade school in the 80s, so yeah. Yeah, I've still got some surplus 51 or 7.62 NATO threw it out there. I like the L2A2 stuff, the British or the Australian equivalent. Some of that was pretty cool. But what I remember about the early 2000s and like the Russian steel case ammo, you had to buy it when it came in because what would happen? They'd import a batch, it would be cheap, but when it would sell out, you wouldn't find it on shelves for a couple of months until the next batch came in. So you kind of had to snap it up when it came in. Politics are cool, but eh, I want to be honest, there's cooler shit than Chinese AKs. Chinese AKs are fine. They're fine. There's cooler shit. I'm excited for PSA stuff that's actually meant to blow up and separate when you use it. It's a little different, but yeah. I actually like the Norinco bluing better because the Polytech bluing was beautiful. At least here in the South, it liked to rust like a motherfucker. There was definitely cases of ammo for around 90, $100. That's for sure. The first cases of 223 I bought after getting my first AR were about that. Sportsman's Guide, don't forget Shotgun News, SOG, J&G sales. They had some cool shit. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna get up and get another drink of water, and I'm gonna give you like a 15-minute notice. We've been going for over 2 hours. Please do hit the like button. Again, I know I haven't live streamed in a minute, but we'll get back in the groove. And again, if anyone wants to toss in a couple extra bucks before we head out, Wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm probably gonna go out maybe next weekend shooting, or or late like next week if the weather cooperates. Because I'd like to put some more rounds through some other guns we picked up, and I need to get out with that Wasser 3 and finish that up, see if my repairs worked, and you have that jack. And, yeah, there's plenty to do. And the cabin's honestly getting to the point where I can almost live in it, so might actually stay overnight there, shoot for a couple of days, and then go in and see family, and then come back home. Make a little extended weekend of it. Shoot some shotgun too. I don't know what. Keltec. I should shoot a Keltec KSG. What do you think? uh, I do actually have thoughts on the KSG. It's a thing. My go-to shotgun. uh, Semato, Benelli M4, pump. A Mossenberg. I I like Mossbergs. They work well. I'm very familiar with them. But for a semi, as cool as the Vepr is, even as cool as the Sega is, I never have quite found a mag fed gun as easy to use as a tube fed like the Benelli. You keep in mind too, I bought my Benelli back when they were expensive, but they were like $1,100. I waited till I bought it on a Labor Day sale about 15 years ago, and yeah, KS 23. I've never really felt the need to change the spring arm on my Vepr 12. Keep in mind though, my Vepr 12 is one of the early imports. I don't know if they changed it. I don't know, but it's run well for me. Yeah, detective. I know. Back when the Veprs were 900, excuse me, $800 new, Jay and I did a video saying, "Hey, get these," because that was cheap. I mean, when they first hit the scene around 2012, they were about 1,200 for the folders and a little cheaper for the fixed stocks. So when they dropped all the way down to 800, and the reason they did is there's a little bit of a price war with the importers. So that was a heck of a deal, 799 retail new price. And the mags. Back when the Vipers first came in, factory round mags were pretty hard to get, and they've become easier. And it took a few years for the factory 10s to even hit the market. Yeah, Benelli is definitely the definition of a buy once, cry once shotgun. And what's nice about kind of hitting on one I like so early on is I've actually been tempted by very few other Shimano shotguns over the years. Meaning, net, I probably save money because if you buy and sell a lot of guns, shoot them, figure out they're not for you, maybe accessory, you can burn through some money over time, even if you resell them. Factory SBR, what? Yeah, yeah, the Vipers were a thing. I trying to think when that was. You can go back and look at our catalog. Was it maybe 2014, 2015, in that period when they were that cheap? I can't remember. It was a while back. Finished Mosins have always been kind of here today, gone tomorrow, even when I was getting into surplus guns, especially if you get into some of the weird variations like the M21 or M24s, the M27s, M28s. It's funny you talking about the niche vepers. A lot of those hung around over at Fime Group up until very recently, like the last year or two. The like the 6.5s and the was it 243 or 270s? Yeah, the weird ones, they did not sell very well. I think part of it was some of them used proprietary magazines, and that always hurts a gun. Always. Yeah, yeah. Classic and the finished Mosins. Yeah, just thinking. I'll reserve comment. I remember back when Classic was owned by the old man, and I mean, we're talking like 25 years ago before they sold to the new, or he retired or died or whatever and sold to the new group. My pepper seems to do fine with birdshot. I mean, once in a while I might get like a stovepipe, fail to fully eject, but it's usually like the last round out of the mag because you don't have the next round pushing it out. But aside from maybe a last round failure to fully eject, which is easy to clear, it seems to run birdshot fine. Keep in mind too, though, mine's the definition of broken in. I could see whereas one's still kind of new, the paint's still thick, all the burrs haven't been knocked out. Sometimes with those kind of guns, they do better later on once they break in a bit. Oh, brilliant on the Vepr being re-riveted. Jesus. I remember years ago, Vector Firearms, who generally speaking built a good AK, put some rails on out of spec, so that was fun. Gotta tell you this on the Vepr SBSs, they're not factory. Okay, let me explain. They're not Molot factory. They come over here and then they get the barrel chopped down by Fime Group, which is fine. They're still coming from a factory. They still have a warranty, but you can't import a short barrel because it's a Title III gun, a Class 3. That's been the law since 1968. You can import them for government use, but not for civilian sales. Now, there are some kind of workarounds if they're bought by an agency and then sold off later, but no reason to get into all that. Yeah, I don't really know much about the whole Wyndham thing. ARs aren't exactly my thing. When I say that, like commercial ARs, I'm interested in ARs, but it's mostly military contract, which is why you mostly see Colts, FNs, a Daniel Defense or two, and some LMTs on this channel. That's just my wheelhouse. I fully recognize that there are other channels that are more expert by far on commercial ARs, so I will bow to them. Yep. Benelli M4 SPS. We're seeing it. You don't have to even cut them down. Benelli sells the barrel assembly. You can buy an SBS 14-inch barrel assembly. All you do is pop off your barrel and put on the short one. Now, there's a problem. If you have a Benelli M4 that has the single piece 7+1 tube, you can't do it. You have to have the 4+1 tube with the extension because you have to unscrew that extension and then put the thing on the SBS. So one benefit to the two-piece tube, and the two-piece tube runs fine, is you can go from 18 to 14 inch. If you have the single piece, you are stuck at 18, folks. Yeah, and I never. I don't know. I just never swapped springs. It ran fine. It was good enough, and I don't always shoot birdshot. But yeah, the nice thing about a case, it's easy to change the spring. Easy, easy. So no harm. Not locking open. Sometimes it can be a mag thing too. I've noticed I've got a couple of mags that work better than others, locking open on a light load. And it can also just be how well you've gripped the gun. If you really grip it against, tuck it into your shoulder tight, you're giving it more of a recoil thing, your body, which means it'll cycle better. Because shotguns are relatively slow cycling, little factors like that can help or hurt. And also don't discount the muzzle device you may or may not be using. That can provide a little less or a little more back pressure. Not a whole lot, but you know we're operating on kind of the edge there. That would be interesting that Wyndham followed TDP because Wyndham doesn't have the TDP. Yeah, Vepr mags. I mean, that's why I always say have extra mags. I've sold Veprs to guys, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm fine with the mag it comes with." No, no, you're not. You always want some spares, even if they run fine now. Things happen. Springs wear out, or I don't know. You always need at least a couple of spares for any gun because without a working mag, a gun is a jam-matic or a paperweight. And for what they are, considering how tough those factory mags are, the big ass spring in them, you know, $50, it's not bad. Ooh, Winchester ammo, catching up here. The Winchester ammo. Yeah, I've had trouble with that stuff. I think even in my Benelli. Was it the Benelli? It was some gun that I really trusted. It might have been but yeah, I've had issues with specifically that Winchester stuff. Mostly, if I do birdshot, I do federal. But I think that's just because that's what's carried. Now, that's not to say we don't use Winchester, but it's mostly reserved for the pumps around here. Which out of a pump, it's nice. It's not gonna knock your shoulder off. The worst AK, man, that's freaking broad. I don't know. There's been some, I don't know, probably one of the Kyber Pass ones made by someone who really didn't know what they were doing. I don't know. I mean, any of your military guns at least had to go through some level of QC for the most part. Then of course you get into the U.S. ones. There's been some pretty rocky U.S. ones. Some of the late production Waffen works were pretty shady. Some okay. How about this? The Visca, the Century Visca is one of the worst. I mean, even Century was like, oh crap, we done screwed up here. Charles, how old timey we talking when you say my favorite old timey gun? Yeah, I mean the 10 rounders are fine, but yeah, you've got a lot of resistance, you've got a lot of friction, and by the time that spring gets to the top, it probably doesn't have a lot of oomph. I do have a couple of tens. I mostly run eights, sometimes I run fives, but the tens are just, even though you only get two extra rounds, they're so much bigger than the eights. Yeah, the Century C39 V2. The only thing I'll say about it, they started off okay, but then it turns out they didn't wear so great. The Viscas, man, some of those right out of the boxes were not good. Hey, Joe. Yeah, I'm about to head off here. We've been on here for over 2 hours, but no. Long story short, hard to say what's going on with KUSA. It seems to be rumor and allege this and allege that. There's probably some truth to it, but are they kaputs? I haven't seen anything categorically saying yes, but I also do believe the people that are saying, yeah, they're in debt to this person or that person, because after COVID, a lot of companies hit some hard times. So I could believe that for sure. Hmm, 60 to 1910. So you're talking old school. I'm tempted to say one of the early Schmidt Rubens. Those are really nice. Uh, I do have a soft spot for the Craig. It's so fun. 3040 Craig is just so fun, so smooth, especially little carbines, little saddle rings and everything. But I'm gonna throw a ringer in and say the Canadian Ross. Hey, listen, if you've never shot one, despite reputation, they are, for a military gun, really nice. They're like a Steyr made really well, and they've got nice triggers. And yeah, so yeah, and that barely gets in there. And I'm talking about the 1905, so it counts. There was the 1910 as well, which isn't bad, but I have to say the 1905 I like a little more. But yeah, I tell you what, it's not. It's not the French Lebel. It's not the 1886. Not that I don't think it has a huge part in history. It absolutely does. It was mostly about the cartridge. The gun itself kind of sucked, or at least wasn't revolutionary. Springfield trapdoors are also kind of fun. Oh, and Remington rolling box. Those are fun too. I don't know about Albanian AKs because we haven't had any yet. Maybe one day Atlantic will sell a East European contract AK and it'll secretly be an Albanian kit build. But without having the time to get hands on one, I do have an Albanian SKS, and my example is pretty nice. But I have heard some that had some QC issues. It seems like, yeah, their QC was kind of slipped. Which, if you look at the politics of that country, yeah, it kind of follows. Yeah, the 10 round mags were kind of a expedient that the Molat factory did. I don't want to say they only do them for like commercial markets like the US, but yeah, 8 was the conceived mag. Both the 5 and the 10 are more commercially type things. Yeah, I'm sure with slugs and buck they would be. Yeah, good night to you, DB. Like I said, I'm going to be heading off in a few. So anyone's got any last minute questions, lay them on me. And again, if anyone wants to pitch in a couple of bucks to round the night out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Oh, You want to talk about issues? Just over the years, Kuger has had all kinds of. Yeah, they had that one explosion a few years ago. They had some government intrigue. Oh yeah, they've. That's just it. Most all the combat factories have at times. Arsenal went through stages. FB Radom had to get restructured after the Cold War. Just because someone hits bankruptcy, there's different types of bankruptcy, and it goes in different ways. And KUSA has already had changing in ownership and management before. So if that's all it is, fine. If it's more, we'll see. But while I'm not going to say, oh, all's well, no worries, I'm not going to just immediately say, nope, they're gone forever, so long, so forth, never going to see them again. Because after all, I mean, the machinery's there, the prints are there, the subcontractors are making parts, so that usually winds up somewhere. It's a crowd pleaser unless you're a bird. Yep, Charles, the 3040 Craig is really hard to beat. It's that classic old world, but still a little more modern. You get and I'll be honest, Teddy Roosevelt's one of my. I mean, I know he was a man. I know he had problems. I'm not going to say he was God Emperor of Doom here, but he's one of my favorites, the presidents. Just he's a very colorful individual. I think he embodies America, at least for that day and time, for better or worse. And it's hard to think of the Craig and not think of him. Yeah, you got a point there. I hadn't thought about him in a while, but yeah, interordinates. They're kind of like Century. Both of them have kind of refocused back on importing. I get Royal Tiger, which is interordinates, all the time emails. Yeah, those are pretty rough. Not every single one of them all the time, but then again, though, to be fair, PSA is using some of the same manufacturing tricks that IO once did. Yeah, I can't blame the Albanians for that. What's with light strikes? I can have a few theories, but I'd have to see it. Oh yeah, the Sweet M96 or M94 or M38, any of those. That it's really down to the cartridge. I mean, the Mauser is really well made, but that 6.5 Sweet round is just really a pleasure out of a Mauser. Okay, you have a point about Zastava in the 90s versus QJ. Okay, yeah, fair play, fair play. Again, KU? Do we know KUSA is even up for sale? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. They went down to the Amazon. Teddy and his son. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The Tantals. Yeah, I remember that went down back in '08 primarily, where in Century's defense, that was right after the barrel ban, which started in '05, but a lot of stuff that was coming in was still allowed in if it was already approved. So that was really the first time a U.S. maker tried their hand at 545 U.S. barrels. It didn't quite work out as well as they thought. And what was bad is that they sincerely didn't know which guns had the wrong barrels because they made barrels, they threw them in a bin, they grabbed them at random, they got mixed in with other barrels. They didn't know. which guns. I heard people try to say, "Oh yeah, if it's got this serial, it is good. If it's not bad." I talked to Century many times about that because I bought quite a bit from them back then, and the honest answer is they had some hypotheses and some best guesses, but for sure they did not know which guns had the bad barrels. And a lot of guys were trying to do the quote unquote bullet test. Problem with that, not all bullets are the same. Are you testing with 7 and 6 from Russia? Are you testing with ammo made in Poland? Ammo made in Romania? You know, because there were different grain weights of 5.45 ammo in different casing. That was the problem. If everyone is using the exact same bullet, exact same cartridge, fine. They weren't. Yeah, talking about your washer and your bolt issue, I repeated it years ago, but I sold a decent number of Wasser threes, not a huge number back when those were not the modern Wasser threes, but the ones that came in from about '07 to '13 or 13. And we had that one that came in with a cracked trunnion, not a rear trunnion, a front trunnion. Obviously, sent it right back. What they had done, they had forced either an oversized barrel pin into an undersized trunnion hole or both. Either way, when they pushed the barrel pin in with force, it cracked the frickin' trunnion. Don't shoot a gun that has a cracked trunnion. Pro tip. Oh, they worked them hard. Of course, a lot of guys just got the gun because here's the flip side. A lot of guys, because they were built mostly on Nodak spud receivers, so fine. They did have the left side selector, so that looked good. A lot of guys just bought them, and then you could buy them cheap. Like at one time, because of the screw up, they were like $300 with a couple of mags and a bipod. So a lot of guys bought them and rebarrel them. Here's the thing, too. Even though they worked them, they weren't dangerous. They weren't blowing up on people. They weren't even like uber duper inaccurate. They were a little inaccurate. They were keyholing, and that drove people crazy. Again, I understand why people didn't want it. You want the right spec barrel. I appreciate that. But you could just go out and shoot them and have fun and not worry. Frankly, because of how corrosive 7 and 6 is, if I had a bunch of 7 and 6, a Century with the crap barrel would be a great bullet hose for that. Because if you rust out the barrel, oh well. And again, the Tannels, even that had the bad barrels, it wasn't the end of the world. They shot, they ran. They may just not have had quite the accuracy otherwise, and they might have had weird bullet holes in your paper, but the internet doing the internet thing, making a huge deal out of something that was a deal, but not a huge deal. Oh, yes, those 5.45 ARs. Here's the thing, you can clean corrosive out of an AK pretty easy. Try thoroughly cleaning corrosive out of a direct impingement, or if you prefer, internal gas piston AR. Good luck with that. So, TLDR, yeah, smart on him for letting his son to shoot. The reason we bought those back then is because for a minute after the 2008 election, you couldn't really find 5.56 ammo. So people bought 5.45 guns, or at least uppers, as a substitute because you could also get tens of 7 and 6 ammo, even though it was corrosive, really cheap. So why not? But yeah, a lot of guys didn't really care. And a lot of guys didn't even understand cleaning corrosive. They thought, well, if I just go and clean it like normal, it'll be fine. Maybe if you live in Arizona, New Mexico, but if you live in a humid area, you had to give it extra attention. You basically had to clean them as if you were cleaning a black powder gun. Because them corrosive salts, they spray in the darndest places. And you think you get them all, and one day you get a little lazy and you forget to completely like take your hand guard off and clean under it, and there you go. And that's why I don't shoot 7.6. It's just, especially with the value of those guns now, I don't want to risk pitting them. Alrighty, guys. I gave you like a 15-minute warning a long time ago, but I'm actually getting hungry and need to do other things. So 5 minutes for reals. Any last questions? Any last contributions? 5 minutes. Ah, I'm glad that the YouTubers is working tonight finally. It's about time for some decent luck. Yeah, I like to see some of those. And I don't remember, and you might know, I don't think I ever even knew back then, but that was towards the beginning of Smith and Wesson's AR production in general. Wasn't the very beginning, but they'd only been doing them for a few years. I don't know what kind of steel they use. Yeah, I'm happy to say I never was tempted to get a 5.45 AR. It no. Colt never made a 5.45 AR. It might have been a Colt lower, but the upper was not Colt. Yeah, I'm glad you tuned in. I'm glad you guys are here. I hated to make a schedule because last time I did that, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going live at whatever time," and then it screwed up, and then I felt really bad. So, Polish Tokarev. One of the other guns we shot last Friday was a Polish Tokarev. Didn't get time to put a lot of rounds through it. Probably take it out again, but just to let you know, it ran fine. It ran no problems, and that was with the PPU hollow point. I don't like shooting hollow points out of old guns. It's what I had. Yeah, I can justify a 5.45 AK just for the history, but a 5.45 AR? Hell no. Daily carrying a Makarov? Why? These days, Makarovs for $400 or $500. You can get brand new carry guns, all kinds of brands, not even like cheap ones like Keltec, but you can get Smith and Wessons or Springfields or you think even Walter's got a couple of small. So get a carry gun because here's the thing, Makarovs are reasonably safe. They are not built with modern safeties. Plus, you only get 8 shots, which again for a carry gun should be sufficient. But it's an old surplus gun. You don't know how it's been treated. If there was ever an accident, a carry gun needs to be not just safe to carry, but needs to be court safe too. And a Makarov just isn't. It's just not a modern gun with modern safeties. Plus, they're heavy by modern standards. Built like hell, but heavy. I've had some binaries that worked well for me. Just not all. It's one of those guns. If you're gonna do a binary, you need to get it done, and you need to get it tuned right. Get the springs and everything right. I guess one of the positives, if you had a Makarov on a belt, you could get one of those old school, like wide leather Soviet belts with the big, star buckle. I bet the upper was Smith and Wesson. They were the main makers of the 545 ARs. I could be wrong. There were other companies, but yeah, Smith was the main builder. Unless someone just took a barrel and put together an upper themselves. Yeah, a lot of my friends carry SIG 365s. I'm still kind of stuck on Walthers, but that's just me. You know, whatever you're comfortable with. That's the thing about carry guns. It's not what objectively is best. It's what you're comfortable with, what you're used to, and what just fits your individual hand. And no one should want to carry a full size. That's true. You don't hear much about the VP9s now. I remember when they first hit, and that was a big splash because that was the first like affordable HK. Oh, I completely agree that Makarov has soul. I completely agree. But when it comes to a carry gun, that's one of the few times it's okay for a gun to be boring. Keep in mind too, a carry gun needs to be a gun that you're not upset about losing because carry guns are the most likely to be lost or stolen. And again, if you have to use it in an incident, it's probably going to go away as evidence or even forever. Just consider it insurance. You know, if it goes, that's your insurance premium. If you lose a $400 or $500 striker polymer gun that saved your life or someone else's, worth it. Berettas are neat. I have a soft spot for a lot of Berettas. Alrighty, folks. I'm actually getting hungry more than anything else. Again, each person kind of has their favorite carry gun, and it probably is the best for them. And the only real way to know what's right for you is to try to go to a range and rent a few, or if you've got a buddy that just has a few, go out and shoot them. But you won't really know until you try them out. Yes, the answer is Mark 23. This is the definitive objective answer for a carry gun if you're in motherfucking Fallout. Because it's going to last forever and put just about anything down, and you can definitely use it as a club. Sorry, Mark 23 is better than Bren 2. Gotta admit, love the Bren 2, great gun. No, Mark 23, that is the answer. You know, if you went back 20 years, the answer would have been Deagle. Deagles are like the thing. Ah, don't know, Charles. I can't play video games, but you say New Vegas just because it's got Odo as house in it. So I got to go with some Star Trek alumni love. I think you should carry a deagle and a prison holster, prison wallet, prison purse. There you go. You'll be a changed man or lady. All right. Yeah, and HK, that would be like the HK 45 CT would be the Mark 24 motto. Thank you anyway. Again, the honest, real carry advice is try out a few things and see what works best for you. Frankly, any of the good brands, they've worked out the bugs. They're all equally reliable, all about the same for accuracy. It just comes down to ergonomics, guys. It really does. We're kind of spoiled with choices now. Who knows about the import market, guys? ATF is still doing weird things as far as approving new guns. Existing guns can still come in. As always, I'll end this stream by saying my advice is with any kind of import, if you want it, buy it now because at least when they're coming in, if it's in the import cycle, they're never going to be cheaper. If more come in, fine. The price will stay the same. Maybe go up a little bit, maybe go down a little bit, but it's basically the same. And if they stop coming in for whatever reason, then the price goes nanners. But also, don't buy something only because it's an import. Buy it because you want it. Buy it because you'll enjoy it. Don't do the it's an investment thing. That's fine to have as like a secondary reason, but don't make it your primary reason because who knows what the future is going to bring? Who knows what's going to be worth and who what isn't? I really don't think we're going to see the BM59, the FNC, especially the FNC pistol. Unless they got their approval in, not submitted it, but got their approval in a while back, or if the ATF changes their mind and starts doing things, I'm afraid it ain't happening. Underwater rifle, because dolphins are like those are the real threats, right? And on that dolphin shooting note, we're going to end the stream because how else can you end it than saying we're going to shoot Darwin from Sequest? How about them apples, Lucas?